Hello everyone, this is Rebecca here with the new moon forecast for the Deep Earth Singing Moon community. And I've drawn the runes already, but I haven't done anything with them yet, so we'll see how this comes. The first thing that comes, in fact, is that we are emerging from a place of real darkness, or we have the potential to emerge from a place of real darkness. And it's a place where we have ventured into shadow. It's a place where we have perhaps been shown where the chips and cracks are in our own facades, but also in our own deeper being. Where are the places of our own vulnerability? I think for many of us in this past month that these places have been exposed, that for many of us that in terms of relationships of trust, whether that is trust with another person or trust in terms of our own vision and way of seeing the world and interacting with the world, that for many of us we may have come up against some sharp edges and places where it hasn't been as easy or as straightforward as we expected, where we have indeed veered off the path, perhaps for our own protection, perhaps because that was the path of necessity, to veer off the places where we had expected to be going for our own safety, for our own survival, going forward. And so we begin from this place where the body itself is chipped and cracked. And this is not just a superficial chip or crack. This is something that digs a little bit into the body itself. And just know that if you are carrying some of those wounds, some of those places of opening, some of those places where perhaps, the wound is still open, perhaps the blood is still flowing, perhaps the implement of the wounding is still stuck into you, that you're not alone in this. But that in this time, in this particular window of this moon cycle, this moon phase, in these next days of opening in particular, we are being given a choice of how we will view and how we will use the experiences that have come to us over the past few months. For many of us, it's been, this entire year of 2016 so far. Certainly that's the case for me. How will you choose to carry yourself forward from here? And, the rune on the other side of this place of beginning, which is for us symbolizing the recent past, is the rune Aiwaz. Now, this is a rune of initiation. This is also a rune that has roots that go deep, 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 deep into the cosmic, into the karmic patterns of the past. And so know that for many of us, these patterns that are coming up for healing, they may go back into our childhood, maybe even into the non-verbal subconscious parts of our childhood. They may go back into the ancestral patterns that we have been holding within us. And for some of us, these will indeed go back into past life memories and past life healing. So it's a very powerful time for bringing up and clearing these patterns. As they are arising, as we are experiencing those patterns and those pain once more, we can lose perspective. It can feel quite unbearable because it is a suspension in time. It is a layering of these patterns. And in order to heal these things, we must feel them. And in order to heal these things, we must be willing to step into these places, into these patterns from a different place of agency, a different place of understanding and of choice going forward. And so as we stand on the threshold of this change, as we stand on the threshold of this moon cycle, this is what, is being presented to us. We are being invited. Take a look. Take a look at those gouges. Take a look at those scratches. Take a look at those wounds. Let yourself see what's really there. Let yourself see that journey that you've been on. Let yourself, see clearly these things and know that you are on the threshold of potential change, that you can turn and shift these patterns from one of repetition into one of initiation, and that within those spaces of initiation, there is a wounding, there's more than a wounding, there's a death, a destruction of everything it is that we've known, perhaps. But in order to let go of the wounding, we need to be willing to let go of the self in many ways. And that's hard, when we're confronting that shadow, because that's exactly the place where the ego crops up for our own protection. It crops up because it is trying to protect us, because it's trying to hold us in those places of safety, of those known patterns. But if you're watching this video, you are most definitely called to something more, and you are being most definitely invited to something more. You are someone who has the capacity to work through these forces and to change in many ways, your own fate or what your fate has been in the past. And so to know that, but also, to know that you're witnessed, and we acknowledge the pain and the wounding that has been happening here. So, moving into the center of the reading, we have above the conscious mind, we have below the root, the unconscious of what's happening, and in the center we have the movement of the individual self. And the movement of the individual self in this cycle is the movement of dagas. This is the gateway. This is that moment of initiation where we move from that darkness, that place of shadow, into this portal of fire. And it can happen in an instant. That is the power and the pain, of this moment. All it takes is that decision to engage with the process. All that it takes right now is that decision for change. And our task right now, we're coming up to this eclipse. And this is an eclipse where the solar power is dominant. The power of the sun is dominant. And we have this fiery Dagas rune. Step into the sun, step out of those shadows. Be willing to let that darkness, to let those parts of the self be burned away. That transformative ash. Well, yes, we're lost, and maybe all the things that we held dear or thought that we were holding dear are lost and turned to ash, and these sprinkled across the ground, as a fertilizer for what comes moving forward. We are talking about big, sweeping patterns of change. This is about responsibility to something more than ourselves. This is about the responsibility and the life patterns that we have been born into in order to bring change. And so, this is a powerful opportunity, a powerful time for that, with this new moon cycle and with this eclipse that is coming this week on Tuesday. So take the opportunity of that. Take the opportunity of that. And how do we take the opportunity of that? Listen for those whispers. Listen for those whispers of your guides. Listen for those whispers of sudden insight and those clear, pure sparks of desire, of those things that drive you, not the voice that says, no, 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 that's not reasonable, or I can't do or be or have those things. We're just suspending disbelief for the moment. It's about feeling, experiencing the feeling of being in those places of complete fulfillment. And it is also about taking the small steps of action to move you towards this. Now, on the surface level, these are the ways that, it's powerful to be working, that we can be working, that we will be working. But know that underneath the surface, there is this river of fire that's taking us through this gateway. And that by taking these small steps of change, taking these small steps to honor ourselves, to honor our place of fulfillment and our dream, that we are unlocking the potential of something much more. And we are setting the tone, for the next cycle to come, not just now, but really for the next years to come. Where we'll be going from here. So it's worth choosing wisely, but it's also worth, listening to those quiet whispers, those threads that are almost invisible that come up to be seen. And we're going to go next to the unconscious mind and what's below there. Rado, forward movement, power. A lot of us have felt stuck for a really long time. A lot of us have been feeling stuck for a while, where we keep trying to make some forward movement and we're just not moving. Maybe just going around in circles or being tripped up continually and having to put things down and reset, don't have the energy to keep going. But that's all changing now, with this moon cycle and with this eclipse, and with this conscious choice to harness these energies, or even if we don't, I feel is the message here. So, it's better to choose than not to choose, because what we step through this portal with is what's coming with us, so let go the stuff that you don't want to carry with you and bring in, that which you do want to be carrying with you, because now is the time finally when we're going to have some good forward movement. And we have, again, at the top, the rune Ansus. And this time, yet again, Ansus is pointing down, and it's pointing, it feels almost like a broken spear that's pointing into the center of the Dagas rune. What I'm getting here is that there is a lot of potential for misunderstanding, around your goals. There are going to be people who don't understand what it is that you're doing, why it is that you're trying to go in a particular direction, maybe why it is that you're setting particular boundaries around yourself. So expect some challenge around that. There will be challenge, but there's no change without challenge. And the forward movement supports you in this. We've been in a space of challenge and contest, in the recent past anyway. So it's not anything new that's coming up. This is just a warning, if you want, that it's time, that we accept that we know that it's there, but also that we have the capacity to bring this to resolution as we step through that gateway, as we step through that portal of Dagas, because we can choose what to leave behind, which parts of ourselves. There can be no conflict without engagement. Conflict is an event, an interaction, a circumstance that happens always between at least two others, whether that is two parts within yourself or whether that is you engaging with somebody else in the world. So when we let go of this engagement, we can bring change. It's that simple, Stop playing the old games. Just let it go. These things are not important. You choose what you make to be important. You can choose what you make to be important. And you can also choose otherwise. You can choose differently. But this is very much not about neglecting yourself. It's not about in any way letting go of your own dreams and your own wishes. This is about just freeing yourself, just being like, this is the stuff that I'm not carrying with me. And just offering that up, offering it up to the fire, leaving behind, the things that you don't need to take with you. And, I feel like there is this cradling of the wounds as we approach that fire, this cradling of these wounded parts of the self. Let's put some love in those places, let's put some love into there. Let's not any longer be berating ourselves for, not being stronger or for the mistakes maybe that we've made in allowing damaging situations into our lives. Let's not even hold it against the other person or the people or the things that have come up for us. We're not a victim of fate any more than anybody else is. We're just not. We make a choice. We choose, whether we are choosing on a soul level to enter into various circumstances for the greater healing of ourselves or of other people, or whether we are choosing on a very human level to engage with forces or people or interactions in particular ways. We have a choice. We have that choice of engagement. And yes, there are places where the threads of fate swirl around us and perhaps trap us in particular eddies or particular tangles within the web that have more or less to do with us. Okay, that is undoubtedly the case that can happen, especially if we lose focus and especially if, we've put our guard down and we're not expecting that. But what's the way through then? The way through is the path of least resistance. As someone said to me on Saturday, a lovely woman who's working with Border. The currents of fate, the currents of change, we see them as that weaving of the web. We see them as those strands of spider silk. Which ones will we go on, the sticky or the smooth? And sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we get stuck. But we don't need to be. And so this is our opportunity to choose. And even if you are stuck, even if you are stuck in a particular net and some of those threads have literally cut into your physical being, your energetic or your physical being, stop struggling. This is a time for visioning that future. This is a time where thought brings change, intention brings change. Not just your mindset, but the way that you experience these things in your body and in your physical being. So make it happen, make it happen in whatever way it needs to. Right now, it can be small and symbolic, but make a conscious choice about what you want to step through that gateway. What do you want to be carrying, when you're carried irrevocably through that gate? What are you taking with you? What are you willing to let go of? Keep your focus on that. And so, we come to the point of the near future. And I'm going to just come to the last two, which were the side which are very much the eclipse, which is pretty much just what I said about Ingus as a gate and Yara, being the harvest. And it is very much, what you carry through this gate, what you carry through this portal is what you will sow in the future. We have also the Algaze rune. And Algaze has come to us today pointing downwards, but pointing straight towards that portal. And pointing downwards like this, it's a dangerous path. It's a dangerous way. The way forward, it's danger. It's danger. I can't give any reassurance around that. There's danger behind us and danger to come. But it doesn't mean that we should in any way stop engaging with the process. We're not children, any of us. We were born for these challenges, we were born for these times, and we can choose how to face them. We can choose to live them fully. We can choose to make them into the building blocks of change within our own lives, the things that bring us strength, the places where we can acknowledge, yes, here are the things that were not working. Here are the places that I want to bring things through. Here's what I want to come. And it's important to keep up connection as we do this, to know that danger, that experience of conflict and struggle, it is a universal human one. You're not alone. Often when we're in those places of suffering, we can feel as if we are alone, and we're not. Any point of sadness, any point of danger, any point of any of those shadowy aspects of the self that we try so hard to suppress and hide, that our mind will tell us we are alone in these experiences. It's not the case. It's not the case. These are the universal human experience. And when we learn to face and confront the conflicts in our own lives and not shy away from them, we also learn how to hold these experiences for other people. It's very important to keep healthy boundaries at this time. Boundaries of the self teach us about love. They teach us about being, and they teach us about understanding. They teach us about what it is to be human. And so you're invited to bring that to you through the change. And I'm going to take one last one coming. Northeast, the rune of necessity, the rune of the need fire. These are times that will show us, not just on an individual level, but on that wider scale of humanity and of the earth, what it is that's really needed. Keep the need fires burning. Women, dear women. That's our task, and so that task begins within ourselves. Don't let the challenge of the times put out your fire. Come back, know your own strength. Use these challenges as a strengthening and tempering, a training ground for your own determination and for the strength that you very much carry within yourself. And come back to our circles to be fed. So many blessings, sisters.